And then that night we were in the house and came later, I don't remember what time it was or anything, but the bombing was going on and the siren had gone. But we'd heard the siren at different times, but this night the siren went on and my dad said, called my mum Meg, we'd be as well getting out of here and going to the air raid shelters. And there was this air raid shelter at the end of Newington Avenue and Atlantic Avenue, and we went in there and there was seating all around, right, and we were standing up, there was only the adults were sitting and whatever. And I remember as well, I don't know all the words of it, but during the war there was men that would guide you into raid shelters, and I remember they wore a little tin hat with a little brim. Well, he got people to start singing, and it was a song called Roll Out the Barrel. We have a barrel of fun, roll out the barrel, we have the Jerry's on the run. And the people were singing this, and it was only years later that when I talked about, do you remember the song in the air raid shelter people were singing? I didn't know it. Apparently it's an army song, but I always think, God, yeah, do you remember they were playing that, they were singing that, roll out the barrel, they were singing that when we were in the air raid shelter. And there came a time that the man said to us, everybody get down on your stomachs, get down on your stomachs, and we all got down on the floor. And we were lying on the floor and I felt this thing on the top of my shoulders. There was this thing pressing me down because this rattling and banging and all this terrible noise was going on outside. And I don't know where my mummy was, I don't know where my sister was. Like, they weren't beside me on the floor. But we were lying there, I don't know how long and these were, but it so happened that the air raid shelter must have failed, that the big top of it, they were big, it was miles longer than this table, a big long thing, but it fell sideways. But we were lucky enough, we were at the side that was a bit upwards. All the people that were killed would have been at the left side. So we were where it was beginning to rise up. So my dad and my wee brother, who was 4 then, my dad threw him out to the street and he started to, and the little man who was beside him, they started pulling bricks from the top of the shelter to the ground, and he was pulling them out, and we heard my daddy shouting, Meg, Mary, Eithne, Mary, Joe, and we heard him calling. I crawled along the ground, I was troubled trying to crawl around this thing on my shoulders was pressing me down, but I crawled and I crawled and I crawled, and eventually I got crawling out through the hole, and I got outside, and my dad was standing there and he said, where's Mary? And I said, I don't know, Daddy, and I was crying, and the ARP man took me by the hand, and I didn't know then, but he took me up to a street called Ponsonby Avenue, and he put me into a house, and the people were all under the stairs, and they were praying, and I was crying, and I didn't know where my sister was, but eventually my sister came beside me. My sister was brought in there too, so the two of us were there.